Hey kiddos, welcome, welcome, welcome. This is JoJo Bear, and you're listening to Sex Talk with JoJo Bear. Hi, how are you? Okay, so I wanted to just talk to you a little bit about a little practice that I do with clients and called the 3 minute game. Okay, so if you're not familiar with this, I'm going to give you the rundown of this practice, and I will give you a little bit of history as much as I know. Okay, so the 3 minute game is a practice to kind of bring some language and embodiment into pleasure. Okay, let me just say pleasure. But it's really about agreements and it's also about consent. So I'm going to break this all down for you and we'll figure it all out together, right? I mean, I am aware of it, but maybe if you're listening to this, you're not aware of it, or you want to just update your knowledge of the practice. Okay, so first off, at the Body Electric School is one of the schools I teach for. And one of the courses in the school is called Power, Surrender, and Intimacy. And it is a workshop that is about kink, it's about BDSM. And it was started um, quite a few years ago. And we're talking like almost over 20, 30, probably 30 years ago, um, by Harry Faddis. Harry Faddis was one of the facilitators for the Body Electric School and now is currently um, one of residents and teacher and coach who lives at Easton Mountain. And so Easton Mountain's a really great place in upstate New York near Albany. So Harry, when he was creating and cultivating the 3 minute game, which is a part of the Power Surrender Intimacy class, um, it originally was a way to teach people to ask for what they want. Okay, so originally it was, um, what do you want to do to me? Or what do you want me to do to you? Right. And so there's that dynamic there of requesting something and also asking for something done. Okay. So then Dr. Betty Martin, she did an all genders power, surrender, and intimacy. And she kind of noticed that those questions were really relevant to the folks that she was working with. And then kind of like tweaked it, right? And so it turned from what do you want to do to me to how do you want to touch me? So there was some touch incorporated. So for the sake of body electric and the power surrender and intimacy, which was more about a BDSM, there was like, what do you want to do to me? But so Betty turned it into this touch practice, right? So if I'm speaking to you, I get to say, how do you want me to touch you for 3 minutes, right? And then you get to answer, you know. And one of the ways to bring in some language into this is, so if I say, how do you want me to touch you for 3 minutes, then we kind of know that I'm the one who's doing something. I'm the one who's giving, I'm serving you, right? You're the one who's receiving. Or if you want to look at Betty Martin's model of the wheel of consent, is where you're accepting. You're accepting exactly the way you asked for it. So one of the language pieces there is will you? So will you massage my arm? Will you pat my head? Will you spank my butt? So there's that piece there. So that first layer of the 3 minute game is how do you want me to touch you for 3 minutes? Okay. So that if we break it down, it is about the giver and the receiver. So in the wheel of consent, it is serve and accept. Will you? Will you touch me? Will you hold me? Will you hug me? Will you massage me? Right? And there's such a specificity there. And here's the real thing that blows my mind. And it gives so much importance onto the person that is being touched, right? If I'm being touched and it's for me, I get to clearly, without a fucking doubt, ask for exactly what I want. And one of the things I've noticed with a lot of clients and with a lot of folks, including myself, okay, so I'm gonna speak in I statements here. I have a hard time receiving sometimes. Do you identify with that? Hmm. Anybody have a hard time receiving? Okay, so this is a great way to practice receiving clearly. And it's only 3 minutes, right? I mean, you can go more, you can go less, but 3 minutes seems to be like the hotbed zone. And I really appreciated that Harry did that in the 3 minute game in the Power Surrender Intimacy. And then I really appreciate that Betty put that into the 3 minute practice, right? Okay, so first question, how do you want me to touch you for 3 minutes? Okay, and then the answer from the person that is receiving is, oh, will you? So, how do you want me to touch you? Will you? Language. Are we getting this? This is so cool, right? And it's so clear. And you could practice this with anybody, right? You could practice this with anybody, right? The great thing about this is in that dynamic, in that position, right, where you're, how do you want me to touch you? Will you? There is this key ingredient where you can negotiate. Will you massage me? Right? That's a little vague. Will you massaging? Huh. Can you tell me more? Right? Will you massage my shoulders firmly? Hmm. That might still be a little vague for me because firmly, it's like, it could be Russian spa firmly, or it could be like firmly. I'm just gently, firmingly, I am gently touching you in a firm way, or deep tissue, or shiatsu, or something like that. So there is this really beautiful container of negotiating, and the negotiation can be so fucking sexy, honey. Just try it, right? So once you go through that practice, you massage, you get your touch in. If the person's doing more than what you've asked, you can say, "That's not what I asked for, dear." Okay? Or just say, "Can you please stop? That's not what I asked for." And you go through the 3 minutes and then you finish at 3 minutes, right? Don't go over. Really honor that time frame, right? And for the givers, y'all know it's really easy to go over 3 minutes if the person's oohing and eyeing, but really practice being in that time zone. It's really important, especially for the givers and the receivers, that consider that there is this specificity of a thing happening. Honor that. Just honor it. Okay. So when you're done, I'm curious. I mean, I know the answer already, but who thanks who? Think in your mind. Who thanks who? Okay. It is the person that was receiving. The person receiving thanks the other person. Why? Well, I'll tell you. The giver gave the receiver a gift, the gift of touch, exactly the way they asked for it. So you get to thank that person. And the other person just says, "You're welcome." You don't have to thank them back. It's the default setting that us givers do. If you get thanked, you gotta thank them back. But no, just say, "Yeah, you're welcome." Okay? So we're gonna now go into the second part of this, which is there is this space of How do you want to touch me? So consider this. I was just being touched, and now I'm asking the person that just touched me, that giver, I'm asking them, how do you want to touch me for 3 minutes? What? Oh my God, wait, who the hell is that for? Okay, let's think about this. I am asking you, how do you want to touch me? So it's a little different than the first question, which is, how do you want me to touch you? Right? So now it's, how do you want to touch me? So if I'm the one that is, my body is being touched, but it's for the other person, because now the other person wants to touch me for their pleasure. Is this confusing? I'll speak a little more on it. Okay. So let's break it down. The person that is being touched is being touched by the other person for them. Okay, so let's look at this. The person that is touching is the person that's taking. What? Taking? When you hear the word take, do you like have like this real like reaction? Yikes, right? This is not stealing, it's not coveting, it's none of that bullshit. This means that the person gets to take, right? It's an action to benefit themselves. Okay. And it feels good. So the person's taking and then the other person's allowing. So let's break this down in the kind of container, the wheel of consent container. So listen to this. If I am taking from you with touch, I am touching you for my pleasure. So the language piece is, may I? May I touch your beard for my pleasure? Right? May I feel your belly for my pleasure? May I feel the hair on your arms for my pleasure? Right? So, are we getting this? Think about it. Think about it. So, if the person's taking and the other person's allowing, you're going to ask them that question. May I do this? May I try this? May I feel this? May I touch you? Right? So, as the person that's allowing, doesn't mean you're enduring. Does not mean you're enduring. Does not mean you're going to be pushing over and saying, no, 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 you can touch whatever you want. Just do whatever you want. No, 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 no. If you're allowing, you get to say, right, exactly what works for you. So if I say, may I feel your beard for my pleasure, I may ask, okay, um, you know, does that include the whole face? Or does that just include the beard? Does that include my ears, my head, my scalp? Like, it's super, super cool to really understand what you're donating your body to. Have you ever endured, like, I'm just honestly saying, have you ever endured, you ever had those period of times where you're in bed with somebody or you're fucking around with somebody and it's like, what the hell is this person doing? And then it's like this cringy, like, I have to get out of here and I'm separating from my body and I'm thinking about all these other things. And mostly, I just want to get the fuck out of this situation. It feels crummy. Well, you don't have to do that. That's not what we're asking you to do. That's not what I, that's not what I, doesn't feel pleasant to me. So I'm not going to invite anybody to do that. So the person that's taking is saying, may I do this? May I feel your arm for my pleasure? And I get to be really clear, right? When I'm on that position of allowing, tell me more. Okay. May I feel the hair on your arms? And can I just place your arm on my lap while I do that? Because it's important when you're taking that you're not working. So maybe before, when you were giving, there was a little bit of work involved, leaning in, thrusting forward, massaging, doing all that stuff. But when you're taking, you don't have to work. You could lay back, you could sit back, you could be in a position where you're completely and utterly relaxed, calm. And you get to just feel. You get to feel. If you're going to feel the arm, you're going to feel it. There's no manipulation. There's no deep tissues, shatsu, any of that stuff. So you get to do that for 3 minutes. And then who thanks who? Wow, thanks who? So the taker gets to thank the allower. And why? Because they allowed their body to be a vessel, an object, something that you can actually feel pleasure from. So you thank them. Pretty awesome. The person can be in that position and donate their body to your sexual science. So let us review the 3-minute game. If you're wanting to play it with a friend or lover or both, multiple partners. So it goes 2 ways. You have these 2 questions. How do you want me to touch you for 3 minutes? Person A, person B. Person A says, how do you want me to touch you for 3 minutes? Person B says, will you? Will you touch me? Blah, blah, blah. Okay? Second request, offer, whatever you want to call it, is how do you want to touch me for 3 minutes? So person B asks person A, how do you want to touch me for 3 minutes? Same body's being touched. It's in 2 different ways. And the language piece there is may I? May I feel your blah, 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 blank, blank, blank. You fill the blank. And that's the 3-minute game. How do you want me to touch you? And how do you want to touch me? The same body being touched twice in 2 different ways. The first way is giving and receiving. So it's a serving and accept if you want to look at the model of the wheel of consent. And the second one is taking and allowing. So if you can play the 3-minute game enough, if you can practice it over and over and over again with lots and lots of people, because none of this has to be done with any genitals. It doesn't have to be done naked. It can be, but it could be as real simple. And the foundation of this is clear. It's so clear. It is such a fundamental practice to practice consent and agreements. There you go. This is the 3-minute game. And if you can play it and practice it enough, you'll start to notice some pretty cool stuff that happens in life. So I'm very excited about this, as you can see, and I'm hoping and wishing that you all have a chance to play the 3-minute game. Want to know more? Keep on listening to me. This is JoJo Bear. Thank you for listening. Have fun. And just keep on practicing. Ciao for now.